session. Welcome to the parallel session day 2. My name is Sandi Arif. I will be chairing the session. Before starting for this session, I would like to remind you kindly that the session is being recorded and will be made available afterwards. And please feel free to ask any question during the Q&A. You can raise your hands or type your question or opinions in your chat box anytime. Last but not least, you can share this wonderful event using hashtag ISLC 2021 and tag @OUBSchool on Twitter. So, all right. I would like to start this session by looking back 50 years ago by referring in a 1967 McKinsey quarterly article, The Manager and the Moron. Peter Drucker noted that the computer makes no decision. It only carries out orders. It's total moron, and therein lies its strength. It forces us to think, to set the criteria. The stupider the tool, the brighter the master has to be. And this is the dumbest tool we have ever had, quote and unquote. How things have changed. To discuss more rebooting with machine, we have 3 amazing speakers. Without further ado, please join me the first presenter, Thomas Kiu from Durham University, with a paper entitled The Implications and Impact of the Artificial Intelligence, Big Data and HR Analytics in HRM, a critical analysis of EU enterprise. So Thomas, over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, good evening, depending where you are. It is nice to be here with you all, at least visually. My name is Thomas. I am a PhD student at Durham University. Today, I will be giving a presentation on HR analytics and leadership. Specifically, I would like to explore how analytics can help business professionals to become a stronger leader. And how can we utilize the power of data to make better decisions? In recent years, we have experienced a data boom. Data is widely spread and everywhere. It is being collected and utilized by company, government, institution, and individual across numerous sectors. Businesses collect data on pretty much everything, like their revenue, performance, and staff level. For today, we are going to cover 3 areas. First, what is data and HR analytics? And then we are going to discuss about how HR analytics may influence and enhance leadership. Last but not least, and what are the fundamental qualities that make a good HR leader? When we are referring leader here, we are talking about HR manager. So what is data? In basic terms, data is a set of value, qualitative or quantitative, for certain variable. This sounds maybe very broad, and it is. While data and information are often used interchangeably, we can think of data as a raw fact, figures, and numbers. And we need to mix and match and analyze this raw data in usable solution. More specifically, data can be seen as 4 V's. These are volume, variety, velocity, and veracity. The first V, volume, refers to the amount of data to carry analysis. Because data are collected electronically, organizations are able to generate a vast amount of data from texting, tweeting, browsing, or shopping. For instance, from a leadership's perspective, leader can gather and record all conversation between employees and consumer, in which enable HR leader to make accurate decisions about their performance. Variety refer to variety refer to how different types of data being processed when making business decisions. Because not all data would be stored in a single location, if leader would like to consolidate a decision, it would be sensible that the leader to combine data from multiple sources. The third way will be velocity, refer to the real-time analysis and prediction. Organization able to gather large amount of data in short amount of time. However, it is also important to emphasize that company would need to ensure they can store and convert data into usable solution. For example, Amazon is constantly updating consumer about their delivery status, which also means HR manager or their leader would have the capability to evaluate employees' performance almost immediately. Last but not least is veracity. It refers to the trustworthiness of the data. Organizations need to curious about the type of data they are collecting, as data is often unreliable, imprecise, and rather narrow. So based on Cambridge Dictionary 2021, we believe that data can be defined as any information, especially fact or numbers, connected to be examined and considered under use to help decision making, or information in an electronic form that can be stored and used by a computer. Now, we understand what data is, but we also need to use the algorithm and machine to make accurate decisions. And this is called analytics and artificial intelligence. In this case, we are referring to human resource analytics and human resource artificial intelligence. Based on informed definition, we believe that HR analytics refer to the use of data and predetermined rules to carry analysis to identify useful information to enhance manager decision making. It emphasizes the use of different combination analytical technique to improve organizational performance. For example, tracking information pattern with descriptive analytics, making prediction with predictive analytics, or to have suggestion plan with prescriptive analytics. In terms of human resource artificial intelligence, a definition emphasizes the concept of automation, which is identified as the distinguished theme between the two software. We believe that HR artificial intelligence has the ability of computer system or support and manage HR decisions, where the system can automatically improve and handle human resource management function. For example, organizations can adopt sentiment analysis to strengthen their decision in job interview, or to use natural language processing with machine learning to verify their job advertisement are free of unconscious bias. And you may ask, how can this relate to leadership? For example, for transactional leadership, HR analytics can help managers to set predetermined goals for individuals. Each employee will have a more clear defined role and tasks that are more precisely tailored to a thing, rather than rely solely on their manager experience. For transformational leadership approach, a leader may like to encourage and engage their peers. But you can imagine motivation, inspiration, and experience that employees value are typically subjective. A leader may think that he or her values are representative or understood by their peers, but in reality, this may not be the case. There is always the possibility of miscommunications. He or she may have overdone it and put too much pressure to an individual. Therefore, we believe that by using HR analytics and HR artificial intelligence, leader would have additional way to evaluate their team, to strengthen their team performance. For example, a simple report from recognition system could show that what the employees value don't align with the team. In other words, these tools can help leaders by responding to individual needs on what they value by empowering them and aligning them their objective and goal of the individual. Recently, a study that conducted by Hoffman et al. 2017 Researchers were looking to evaluate employees' performance between computer recommendation and manager selection. The results of the study show that when manager override the computer recommendation, employees end up performing worse than those who were selected from the computer. Therefore, researchers suggest that when a manager hides against the recommendation of a computer, it is based on bias or error, not because of superior private information. As organizations increasingly adopt data-driven approach to work, the ability of individuals to influence the environment where decisions are based on big data and technology become increasingly important. Due to vast amount of information available, the ability of use data to make collaborative decisions achieve is critical factor for successful people and organizations. Upon doing an interview for my PhD, we have identified that there are 4 fundamental qualities that are important. And these are realization, collaboration and data sharing, analytical skill, and influence. Realization. With the ever increasing amount of data and information, analytical-minded leaders need to be closely monitor their environment and identify which data could be benefit to the business. In this context, leaders should not fall into the trap of perception of blindness, as this often happens when large amount of data and information are present at the same time. Managers may get overwhelmed and don't know where to start. In addition, leaders should not expect a particular outcome based on past events and therefore disregarding the results. By being aware of the possibility, HR leaders can remain open to important information in the data that may otherwise be overlooked. Managers need to be curious about the type of data they are collecting, as data often is reliable. And the second one we have identified is collaboration and data sharing. Building on the perspective suggested above, HR leaders should encourage information sharing and collaboration amongst team members and other departments to ensure that the results of the analysis are used in a meaningful way. Moreover, information sharing ensures that variety of individual and team members have access to multiple sources of information to generate appropriate knowledge of decision making. HR managers should also foster psychological safety in which individuals feel safe to express their opinion and share their unique information. Where the department tend to collect data that is beneficial to their own without considering too much about their other department. Because not all data would be stored in a single location. Therefore, if HR leader would like to consolidate a decision, it is advised that by combining data from multiple sources would create greater efficiency and accuracy decision. For example, when developing a training course for a team, manager can combine employees' current performance, and this data often come with the HR department, with consumer interest and satisfaction. And this data tend to come from marketing and sales department. By combining this data, we can predict each employee performance after and before the training program. Analytical skill. HR analytics require managers to have certain specific skills such as problem solving, data analysis, and pattern recognition. However, these skills are in short supply. The reason for this is that in the past, HR positions did not normally require individuals to have strong analytical skill and mathematical ability to carry out HRM function. Therefore, hiding or working with individuals who do not have this relevant knowledge may lead to misinterpretation and misspecification of the analytical results. Therefore, we believe that analytical skill is a critical factor for any successful leader. influence. Influence is at the heart of leadership and is especially necessary for HR leader and HR manager in this sense. Conceivably, the number of choice employees could alternative use due to increased variety of information. HR leader must therefore able to convince others about the benefit of using HR analytics and HR artificial intelligence to achieve their desired results and objectives. HR leaders should also consider to use the basic principle influence, such as consistency, social proof, and leader by example, to ensure that all people understand and trust how data will be handled, stored, and analyzed. Taking together, HR leader combine 4 qualities of leadership in order to effectively leverage the available data and information for achieving organization goal. Ultimately, HR analytics and HR artificial intelligence equip HR leader with facts, evidence, and prediction, which is a key driver of quality decision making that is free of unconscious bias and emotion. These are the reference. Thank you for listening. Do you I welcome any question you may have, or you can email me at the bottom after the presentation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. That was very interesting presentation. So while waiting the questions from others, I think I have a question to you. Well, I think, we have a raised hand here. Let me check. Okay, so I think Owen has a question. So please, Owen.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy. I was wrestling with the raise hand function. Good stuff, Thomas. Like really interesting stuff. I think honestly, I'll just give some impressions in general. I think about the presentation and this field, and then maybe we can do this as more of a discussion. I think your research is really necessary and very, very interesting. I think I'm writing a chapter at the moment on technology and leadership, and what is kind of obvious is that this maybe surprisingly actually, or maybe not in some kind of ways, is a field of study in leadership studies that is close to being non-existent, right? Which is understandable in some ways, because I think when people think about leadership in general, the field tends to be dominated by people talking and communicating in small groups. So the idea that machines can take over a lot of tasks that may or may not be leadership, could be management tasks, I think is something maybe that leadership scholars, maybe not consciously, but unconsciously kind of feel isn't for them. But nevertheless, I think it's a terrain that we really need to grapple with, and I think probably we need to start with asking some fundamental questions, which I think you have started to grapple with, and I responded to when I did a really positive review of your submission too, which is to think a bit more. I think we all need to think a bit more about what do we mean by leadership. So rather than equating leadership with the position of being a leader and then the decisions leaders make, like what is a leadership, and that's a perfectly legitimate perspective to take, by the way, but to think maybe a bit more about like what are the things that leadership behavior involves, what makes it distinctive, and so on, versus like what does a leader do. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts about that. And particularly what I got from your presentation was, we hear a lot about how machines can take over lots of unwanted sort of repetitive tasks, right, for people, and can automate, and you illustrated it beautifully how technology can maybe automate a lot of equal opportunities and processes, sort of in action, basically. So what maybe what kind of leadership is enabled by perhaps a lot of this stuff being automated, I guess. So there's a couple of questions in there, wasn't there? One about defining leadership and one about the role of automation. Okay, now that's enough blathering for now. Over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Owen. So please, Thomas.
So the first question I would say, based on the interview, we realized that there's so many overlap between management and leadership. So often when we are interviewing or talking to interviewees, they are saying that the software would be able to help them as an additional way to become a stronger leader. For instance, as an additional tool, I would say. For instance, they would be able to help motivating or evaluating their peers and their group or within their groups, like who is perhaps struggling or perhaps who is unhappy using this kind of software. For example, one of the interviewees mentioned that when we are talking to a person visually now, our eyes movement or our facial structure often will be misleading by human. But in fact, maybe the person is nervous or maybe the person is confident, cannot be really tracked based on the conversation. So AI or analytics would be able to help them to saying that, oh, within a group, this person is actually need a little bit additional support because the way he speaks or sentiment analysis, the tone I use, like higher, lower, sad, etc. Yeah, this is we often find this is an additional way to support the leader in a way. What is the second question, may I ask?
Oh, it was about this thing where you have I think Aaron Bastani made in his automated luxury communism book, like his case is that machines can take over repetitive and dirty tasks, which in theory can enhance the capacity for more creative, kind of fulfilling human activity, I guess, which feeds over maybe quite well into leadership. So yeah, just thoughts about, if you had any thoughts about kind of what automation can offer leadership, or the potential for leadership, really.
Potential for leadership, I would say, but thank you, Owen. I have never come across this, but I believe there's similar to what I may be suggesting is that a lot of work leaders used to do, like motivation is quite an obvious one, and helping and support and give them a specific transformational approach, transactional approach. HR analytics and artificial intelligence could tailor a specific program or a specific way for individuals to work on, because everyone is different. Your strength or my strength would be very different. And manager in the past or leader in the past is often rely on their I would say subjective opinion. But with combining millions and millions of data, we could help both transformational leadership and transactional leadership to both tailor a better individual program for individuals and in motivation, encouragement. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I think before offer to Victor, I think I'm a little bit try to touch down about the automation, because when we talk about the automation, I think the terminology vary. We talk about is it digital, leadership? Is it cyber leadership? Leadership in the digital age? E-leadership? Or, so many terminologies. I'm not really sure, when what specific automation in terms of, Okay. So I think now moving to Victor. Over to you, please.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation. That was very interesting, and resonating with Owen as well, because you talk about transformational leadership and how these sort of leaders can use all of this data to transform followers. And the underlying assumption behind that is that we have this sort of character, which is the manager, with this sort of larger than life attributes in which they can transform, followers, which also is another unquestioned assumption in the literature. And when you were talking about analytics, I was thinking about how data and the algorithms are the non-human forces shaping direction in the workplace rather than the manager in the human resource department. So what I'm saying is that maybe the manager is more like an mediator between these two, and maybe is the data, the algorithm, the software which is shaping direction in the workplace. Do you have any sort of critical perspective on that? Trying to move away from these heroic ideas of leadership.
Thank you, Victor. So based on the interview I've been carrying out during the PhD program, a lot of the software vendors or the provider, they often combine existing data from their employees. For example, we interview, I cannot really like a multinational company. They are using AI for their HR function. So by combining the high performers, and they could combine who is motivated, so many examples across the world, by combining this individual with their performance. So we use this as an input for the artificial intelligence as a raw ingredient, and we use quite technically use deepfake to enlarge the data set, and then we could select who is struggling, who is motivating. When we are talking, when there will be a list of questions in a let's say an interview, during a feedback communication between a leader and the peers of followers, there will be a list of questions, let's say 10. And when I answer the 10 questions, first, for example, the first one, how is the week? Were you struggling? Second question, how can we motivate you? And the software is analyzing my tone, the way I speak to you, the software and speak to you now, and my eyes movement, my facial structure. By combining so many example from the company who have already predetermined that those individuals who are already a motivator, those who are good leaders, and combine the way I speak. Oh, this person needs additional support, or perhaps I am a good leader. So, I combining Victor, Sandy, this, like, of course, these are only two examples. Now combining Thomas data, we have similar characteristics. So maybe Thomas is going to be a good leader in the future. So we're going to develop him into so many ways. Thomas probably perhaps better in analytical skills. So we're going to help him in that along the way. Because remember, we have the raw ingredient from so many people. From so many people, we could specifically say Thomas will be good at this because based on the raw data we have from different countries. And with fake data, fake AI, basically, deepfake, we minimize the discrimination or racism because we're combining people who from Africa, who from Asia, and then use deepfake to enlarge the quantity. Yeah. So we could develop leadership based on what we have as a good leader, and then analyze the interviewees or the followers. Oh, this person need additional support, or this person had good skill to become a leader in the future. So we're going to develop him. Yeah, thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So actually we're running out of time, but we have one question from Srumita. So maybe you can just answer it briefly, Thomas. did you come across any outcome, which indicates that HR analytics and AI can create a barrier between leader and employees?
Yes, so we did come across that. Specifically, is those who are afraid to use AI, employer willing to adopt HR artificial intelligence and HR analytics. However, the employees maybe is what we call the technology avoidance. So they are scared that technology is going to replace them in the future. But based on my research, we emphasize that, or the interviewees emphasize that it's as an additional support as a tool to help them. But in reality, a lot of leaders, a lot of managers fears that they are going to lose their job because of this new way of helping them. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we have I think, an opinion here from Jane before closing for Thomas' session. So if the AA follows prediction and patterns, it would follow that those with neuro disabilities would be disadvantaged. I think that's really a perfect point, Jane. Okay, so thank you so much, Thomas. Excellent presentation. So I do really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.